All right, Brian Cobb. Welcome to the show. I'm glad we finally got to have you on. I know your schedule's super busy, like flying around and even just taking kids to. Was it? She's going to practice. Is it Andy going to
She's
practice?
she's going to art. She was going to art on Wednesdays, and now she's like on the swim team at CSUB. Like they do the youth stuff, so she's over there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we had to move her art to Tuesdays. So 4 days a week she's doing something, and then Thursdays my two little ones are doing gymnastics.
So you're like always trying to balance stuff, pretty much always.
Yeah, it's especially with like this new job and this new schedule, like it rotates. So if I work Friday, Saturday 1 week, the next week I work Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday, Thursday. So 2 on, 4 off, and it means that like everything's kind of always skewed, and I'm really never sure like what day it is, and I get off at 8 or 9, depending on if we have a call, and so I'm rushing home just uh, to you know hurry up and get the assignment for the day, so to speak, for the kids. So yeah, it's busy.
Yeah. Well, I feel like honestly, like since I've known you, I feel like there's always stuff that happens, and you do a really good job of just like kind of adjusting and adapting and pivoting.
I appreciate that. I mean, I feel like that's just the job of a grown up, right? Like you get to the point like, hey, like I want to be married to this woman. I wanted to be a dad. Like, we own a business, and to make sure that that's successful is nobody cares. That's the big thing is like, oh, your knee hurts, nobody cares. Today's not going well for you, nobody cares. Is like you got to show up. Um, and I think wrestling has taught me a lot about that. Is like nobody cares, shut up, uh, keep going. So if I want it to get done, if I want to be able to do things I want to do, if I want my kids to be happy, you just figure it out.
I think I saw this thing. It was Mitchell Messenbrink right after I think he won maybe his semis, and Q Kesnick is like, like how are we able to? I forgot the specific question. It was like, how are we able to like put things together in that match? And he's like, everybody has a million reasons to not do something. All you need is one reason to do something. It's because I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like that's a tough thing. I think actually for a lot of people to be able to apply to their own lives because they're always looking for ways out.
Yeah. When I was in the academy, it was hard, 14 weeks being away from my wife and kids, um, being, putting us through the ringer. My body's old. I've had two knee surgeries, and I've taken a lot of damage in wrestling and my MMA career, and just 25, 30 years of grinding, of physical like contact sports. And then you're also putting everything into the academic side, right? There's so much stuff to learn. And there's 13 guys in this academy. 11 of them have previous fire experience, whether it's a hand crew or a hot shot or whatever. And then there's me and a 28-year-old kid who got out of the army in March as an infantry sniper and is just a total like monster. And we're going, and like the first week I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm hanging with these guys, and one guy, he's a guy, I call him kid, but he's a guy. He's like, "Oh man, you're older than my dad." And I got like a little offended. And I was like, "Well, does your dad beat you in timed runs? Because I did." Like, um, and then as the 14 weeks go on, like all of us get really close. You get to know each other. I just realized like he wasn't trying to be insulting or anything. I was just stating a fact. And um, we got to about week 12 or something like that, and we took a test, and they said, "Hey, how many of you guys got 100%?" And I was the only one that raised my hand. And the guy there is like, "Cobb, you got 100%." I was like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Anybody else?" And then he just goes, "Why does everyone else have an excuse? This guy's got a business, he's got a wife, he's got kids, he's away from his family, and and I don't understand it." And he looks at somebody else. He goes, "What's your excuse?" He goes, "I'm 35, sir." He's like, "Did you miss what I just said? Like, I'm an old man, you know what I mean? But I just felt like I wanted it more. Like all these guys, a lot of these young ones, this is their first job, it's their first career. Like me, I left a career teaching to do something new and different and try to benefit my family. It's like I did not have, there was no plan B, right? Burn my ships. I went all in on becoming a firefighter, and I wanted to make sure that if my family made that sacrifice, that I didn't waste it or I didn't spoil it. So, um, yeah, you get that. Like, wrestling just does that for you.
Well, I think it gives you it helps kind of bring out this mindset. And I think some of it's like stuff that's already in you, you know, and I think it just kind of creates this environment and also surrounds you with a lot of people that have kind of a similar mentality, you know. I mean, I remember hearing your story where where I think it was University of Marquette got cut, right? And you came out to CSUB. And it's funny because, you know, I'll talk to guys that are on the team with you and it's like, for some reason, dude, I don't know. I don't know if it's just them, but it seemed like you never got tired. Like you're always in really good shape. Maybe weren't necessarily a practice guy, but when it came time for competition, just super tough and, you know, just would be super competitive with everybody. And it's funny that that kid was saying, was saying, "Oh, you're like my dad's age," and your immediate response is like, "Yeah, but I beat you in time runs." I feel like that's
Yeah.
a classic Cobb response. It's like, so I always have something witty to come back with you right away.
Yeah, I just have like too much pride. Like, and the thing, what you're saying is that guys and teams that he didn't get tired is like, it's because I wasn't that good. Like
Yeah,
I can be honest with myself and realize like I wasn't that good. And if you want to beat someone that's better than you, your only real option is to get him tired. And the same thing in MMA, right? Is like if you punch a black belt hard enough, he becomes a brown belt. And so, what's that thing? Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Like
yeah.
my goal was to get you tired. If we take each other in deep water, like I can swim. Can you? And we'll find out. And so my bad technique is going to beat you if that bad technique just keeps coming. And so, um, I'll one of the like my proudest moments of you, like not that I was your coach, but I worked out with you a lot when you were in college. Like you always were like, I want to wrestle with you. Like you were always looking at whoever the best guy in the room was, not saying that's me, but like you wanted the toughest match. You wanted the best guy. You were always about it. And then we dueled ASU. And I want to say you had like the first takedown against Zahid Valencia that entire season. But like you came after him and like you got a takedown. And it was like, yeah, like all of a sudden he woke up like, oh man. And it's like, just that mentality. Like I'm gonna go punch this guy in the face and start a fist fight. Like I don't have to be better than someone to let them know I'm here and I'm gonna hold my ground. And yeah, and I think you have a lot of that in you. And I always just kind of carried a chip on my shoulder about everything.
You actually texted me, I think right before the Pac-12 finals, where it was like, you know, just basically go out there and make it a fight, you know, like, yeah, kind of just talking about the duel a little bit. But yeah, it was one of those things where I think for me, actually coming in and seeing like because obviously we didn't know each other right when I came in and already been around Adam and Bryce. And those were two guys that, you know, were ahead of me in the starting lineup for the first couple of years. And they looked up to you a lot. So I'm like, all right, well, if these guys are kicking my butt and Cobb walks in, everybody wants to get a piece of Cobb. I feel like I got to do the same thing, you know, because there's, yeah, wrestling with somebody that's going to push you. And that this might have happened maybe my junior or senior year. I don't know if you remember this because I think we might have actually talked about this before. There was a practice where like every now and then maybe I'll get a takedown, but this was like a practice where I took you down a couple times. And all of a sudden, dude, like I'm winning practice against you. And I come off like we're jogging and I'm like, dude, I finally like beat Cobb in a practice. And I'm out of breath. I'm not tired, but I'm out of breath. And you come up to me, and it seems like you're not even tired at all. And it's like, yeah, man, like you got a couple takedowns. I'm like, yeah, let's keep working on your double leg. Like almost as if like you let me win that practice. And it just shows you like how in my head you were, just because like you would just keep beating me, and it's like I couldn't believe it. And then I'm like, dude, he might have just let me win that practice. I don't even think I earned those takedowns.
I remember, so Albert Urias, he and I were wrestling, and this was right around the time that there was like the water damage in the wrestling room at Cal State, and we were practicing in the old gym.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and they're kind of going, and me and Albert are wrestling, and he gets a takedown. Then I get like a reversal and put him on his back, and then cut him. He gets another takedown. I get a reversal. I cut him. He gets a takedown. I get a reversal. I put him on his back, and we're going. And it was like we're just gonna wrestle like a mad hour that day. And I was like, "Hey, man," and he's kind of smiling. I was like, "Hey, do you know what the score is?" And he's like, "I got 3 takedowns." And I was like, "I'm beating you right now by 8." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, those takedowns are great and everything like that, but like you're not getting off bottom, you're not scoring points. Like, and if you when you get on top of me, you're so excited you stop wrestling." And he was like so mad. He's like, "Dude, I thought I was like getting you that day." And I was like, I was a little tired like when I came in, and so I had the decision to make that I was gonna wrestle. My entire day was just gonna be top wrestling. and I just wanted to wrestle you on top and get you better on bottom. That day, I don't remember that with you. They were probably all legit takedowns. So
I
kudos
don't
to you.
believe
But I'll
I
tell you
don't believe
this,
it.
like I do, because of the guys that I worked with, like um, and I coached at Cal State for about 15 years, like where I was in the room very consistently. It's like you're one of those guys where it's like you were gonna make it a fist fight. Like even if you were losing, I knew that I was gonna have to wrestle every second. Like you were gonna look for an opportunity where I let up or I stopped wrestling or like, oh, there's 10 seconds left. Cool, I'm gonna coast. Like you never coasted for a second. And there was other guys that were tough, and they'd get into the fist fight, but like there was moments where they would feel bad for themselves. They would like let up because they were just down on their dumps. And you were never that guy. Never. Like you might do it after the match was over. You kind of hang your head or whatever. But like when you were wrestling, it felt like you knew, like, you know, in basketball and baseball, there's no 6 point home run, right? There's no 34 point, shot if you bounce it off of, someone in the stands and it goes in, right?
Yeah.
But in wrestling, like you can pin somebody up to the last second. And I felt like you always wrestled with that approach. Is like I could be losing, but I can still win. And
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it was, there were not moments in my career where I was like, I know I'm taking it easier, like I know I'm maybe relaxing a little bit, but I think I wish I had more of the mindset. I need to get better at scoring points, not just like I need to be tough. Because I think sometimes you have that mentality. I even catch guys that I coach now where it's like, oh, I'm doing everything right. And it's like, yeah, but you have to do everything right to like not necessarily find a certain outcome, but like you align your path to like what ultimately wins wrestling matches is scoring points, and there's a million different ways to do that. And I think that was, if I one regret is looking back on, I wish I would have tried to get better at the sport a little bit sooner.
yeah, I mean, I think that's true of so many guys, right? Like I got so much better the day I graduated. I stopped caring about like getting my hand raised, and I wrestled in a bunch of tournaments, as an unattached guy after my college career ended, and I did really, really well in them. And I just focused on scoring points. I was like, I'm gonna go have fun. There was no pressure. It's like, oh, if I lose, who cares, right? It's not like I'm chancing an opportunity to go to the NC2As or anything like that. I'm just going because I love the sport. And I think there's a time and a place to wrestle to win matches. But if your whole regular season is like, I'm gonna go score points, right? I'm gonna get in bad situations and figure them out. I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get to positions like, hey, I suck on bottom. Cool. I'm gonna choose down second period and I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna work through it. Um, then at the end of the season, when it's like, hey, I'm up by 2, 3, 4 points, like I can be strategically smart. Like I
Yeah.
don't need to. I'm not saying don't get after, don't keep scoring points, but like you don't need to take risks at the NC2A tournament. With 10 seconds left and you're up by 2 and taking a bad shot, you don't need to do that. And understanding where you are on the mat and all of the dynamics that go into a match. But I think if your whole regular season is committed to like, I'm gonna just go score points and figure situations out, I think the end of the year kind of takes care of itself sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what is kind of like pulling you back into competing again? Because you're getting ready for, is it firefighter and police world
It's
championships, or is
it's the
it police and
police.
firefighter world championships?
I think it's police and firefighter world games. So they
World
have
games.
three levels. It's the state, the national, and the world level. The state and the national are every year. The world is every 2 years, and the USA is actually hosting it this year. Um, so at the veterans level, I've won two folk style veterans national championships. I've won two freestyle veterans national championships. I lost in the finals last year to Eddie Gifford. He was an All-American for Fresno State. He's a Nevada kid, adult, whatever. Um, and then national veterans finalist in Greco, and that's my worst style by far. But I wanted to win the Triple Crown, what they call it, the Trinity Award. I really wanted to win that, even though it's a veterans, right? Like there's some tough guys that are there competing, and I just still feel like I have a fire in my belly to compete and push myself and stay in shape. And especially now with being in the fire service, is I see some guys and they don't take um, they don't take what their physique is like that seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I've seen some guys and they're like, they got big old bellies, but they're like dogs on the fire ground, right? They're throwing hose around, they're getting it, they do not get tired, and they're using all the right techniques. And you just like, how is this dude working like this? What a work rate he's got. For me, I feel like when I get a little thicker in my midsection, like I breathe a lot harder, and I want to be able to get in there and work same way I would in a wrestling practice, right? Like no excuses. No one cares if you get a little tired. Like, hey, did you save my kid in that fire? Did you
Yeah.
get somebody out? Nobody cares. Like, oh man, like I got tired. Like nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear I went in there and I rescued so and so. I got your dog out. Like, our number one priority is life safety. After that, we try to worry about property, and then environmental stuff is third. Um, but nobody cares about that. And so my biggest thing is like I want to continue to work out. So if I'm in a position where I can save somebody, fatigue is never a problem. And the easiest way for me to get in good shape, the easiest way for me to push myself and is really to stay in a college wrestling room where every year I get older, we bring in a new batch of hungry 18 and 19-year-olds that want to beat the old man. So
Yeah.
um, when I graduated, a guy that he is a veterans world silver medalist, was one of my high school wrestling coaches, Bill Newton. He wrestled at Cal State Bakersfield. He wrestled at San Jose State for Coach Kerr, and he helped coach me when I was at Bellarmine Prep in high school. And he came to my graduation from the academy. He's a retired San Jose FD fire captain, and he's wearing his Class A's. He's dolled
That's
up to the
awesome.
nines. I was like, dude, so good to see you. And he's like, hey man, like after I graduate, he's like, now you got to wrestle. And he sort of challenged me to wrestle in this. And when I was looking, our department has never had anyone compete at any of the three levels, state, national, or world. And I said something to somebody. I was like, man, I can't believe no one's competed. And they're like, why? And I was like, well, my old coach said something, and so I think I want to try and compete. It's in the U.S. Like I could make that happen. And essentially, like my wife kind of agreed to it. But
That's the
it's
first step is getting the
yeah,
wife on board.
yeah. But I think she's also okay with from the fact that like I'm gonna retire from competition after this. Um, just because as my kids get a little older, it's important to shift the focus to their activities.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get hurt and risk like my career from that perspective. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to keep going into Cal State's room and wrestling or, getting in there and working out. I love that. That'll never get old. But, um, it'll be 10 days for me to be gone. And my wife and kids are going to come too. But it's like 10 days. It's a big financial commitment. It's a big commitment for my wife. She's got to take care of the three kids while I'm gone until they get there.
Yeah.
Um, so, so yeah, I mean, and I've done Vegas like last year. Like I said, I went to Vegas, but I was gone for 2.5 days, right? So hotel room, fuel to get out there, meals while I'm there. She's got to get the kids to school, help with homework, making all the dinners and things like that. So, when I'm gone 2 days already for work, now I come home and I'm gone to wrestle. It's a lot to ask of her. Um, and I like her an awful lot, and I'd like to stay married to her. So try, the commitment of being a firefighter means I've committed to being gone from my wife and kids' life for the next third of their life, right? 2 days on, 4 days off. So I'm gone 48 straight. So when I'm home, I want to be fully present home. So the agreement is I'll compete in this. I'll go win a world title to represent my department well. Um, and then we'll focus on the kids.
Are you putting your shoes on the mat after?
That's not really my style. Just kind of I haven't really made a big deal that I'm like retiring, but I figured I'd talk with you about it in this format. So, yeah, just same thing with like when I retired from MMA, like I didn't make any kind of public announcement. I just
You
retired.
didn't
My
take the
wife,
gloves off in the
nope,
cage and put them down?
nope, just didn't sign any more contracts. So,
It's kind of like cowboy riding off into the sunset, kind of, you know.
yeah. I mean, I've got a great life, and wrestling has done every one of those things for me. No doubt about it. And so it's not like goodbye to wrestling. It's just goodbye to spending a bunch of money to go prove that I can beat some other old guy.
Is there like different age groups within
Yeah, it's
this
it's only
structure?
it's only like two different age brackets, so it's pretty wide range. And then it's Olympic weight, so again, there's like pretty big gaps. So I'm gonna cut down to 173.8. I think it's
Okay.
89 kilos, something like that.
How much you weighing right now?
Not that. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been on a scale too recently. I'm in the 90s for sure.
Well, 89 kilos, I think is you said 79 kilos or 89?
I have it written down what the weight class is, but I
The
don't want, I
world the
feel
world
like I'll close my screen.
yeah, well the world championship weight is 174 if it's 79.
79. That's what it is.
Yeah.
79.
And
Yeah.
then 86 kilos I think is like 189. Yeah, it's 189.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. 174 is not that bad.
No, I mean, I probably fit a little better in my turnout gear when I'm down there anyway, so I'll be all right.
You got to yeah. Well, it's funny like sometimes it's like you wear a singlet size, right? But you wear it when you have an extra 20 pounds and then you know, put the singlet on when it's time to compete and you're a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. I man, I wore a single last year. I looked all right in it, but I wouldn't want to, you know, I don't know, like the my big thought, in the academy, like 14 weeks, man, awesome. We're doing a ton of PT, we're dragging hose and throwing ladders and doing all these things. And it's like, I'm gonna probably lose some weight. I didn't lose a single pound, but I lost 3 inches on my waist.
There
So it
you
was
go.
like, it's like, all right, cool. I'm like definitely getting stronger. Like I could tell I was getting stronger. And it's such a different like functional strength, right? Like wrestling strength is super different than like dragging stuff strength. So, um, but yeah, I'm excited. The best part about the job is that we're expected to work out, 1 hour every day we're on shift. So on a 48-hour shift, I get 2 hours where unless we get a call in the middle of it, I'm working out. I'm hitting the rower, I'm hitting weights, I'm on a treadmill. I've got an Aerodyne here at my house that I'm actually going to bring to the station.
Nice.
It's easier to get a workout in at work than it is at home.
Well, especially like you said,
So,
you want to be present, and it's like
yeah,
if you want to do that and then you're also trying to balance like taking kids places and spending time with your wife, it's like you kind of have to wake up early before they get up, or you got to stay up late, which
yeah.
yeah, everybody has their preference with that.
I do a little bit of both. I'm usually the first one to rise and the last one to bed. But um, yeah, it's again, it's like you got to find a way to make it all happen. And yeah, it's it's important. It's important enough for me to make those sacrifices. And I like to work out in the morning because I feel like I've started my day like on a good foot. It's like, oh man, I got a workout in, got a little sweat, lost some weight, dude, it's gonna be a good day, right? But like you wake up, you're just like struggling to roll out of bed, you hit snooze, you're like, oh, you just feel like a lump for the rest of the day. So
That's why I try to just like as soon as the alarm goes off, I try to get up like right away.
yeah,
Like the longer I stay in bed, sometimes like the worse it is getting going. But if I just like wake up and go, fine.
yeah. It's a little hard that my first day home after working, like 2 nights ago we got a phone call, tones dropped at 2:15 in the morning, and it was a structure river bottom fire, like a homeless encampment, and it was there was threatening a structure. So it's like, you've been up for 60 seconds and you're in an engine that's screaming, sirens blaring, going 65 miles an hour down a road. Wow, just like reading CAD notes to figure out what's going on, looking for a hydrant on your maps so you can like get there and get after it. And it's like, cool, I've been up for 2.5 hours, like all night long. It's like the next thing, I'm not going to go back, sleep for an hour and a half, wake up and get a workout in. Usually if you go to a fire in the middle of the night, you come back, you're like, I got to shower, like I don't want to go back to bed with all these like carcinogens on me, all that smoke, and you're soaking wet from sweat. So, yeah, it's a little easier to get that morning workout in at home than it is at work, but I definitely get the workouts in, which is nice.
What's cool too, and I've talked to like Noah Blakely, a good amount, and then Riley Orozco has been on the show, and obviously Riley was one of my coaches. They talk about the camaraderie that like it's very similar to being on like a college wrestling team that you kind of get to spend, like you said, a couple days just with a bunch of guys that obviously you're doing your job. We're going out and
Mhm.
putting out fires and helping people, but the downtime where you get to hang out and work out and I know like you guys trade like who's cooking, that shift and things like that. How similar is that camaraderie, I guess, to actually being like on a wrestling team?
Yeah, there's nothing like being on a wrestling team. I was fortunate enough to go down to the Palisades fires and be on a strike team for that. And you're 24 on, 24 off. And so like in the middle of the night, if you're not working, and that's like back-breaking, labor-intensive work, right? Like you've got a McLeod or a shovel or something, and you're just scratching line in the middle of nowhere, like making sure that there's a fire break, and you're doing it through the night, or hey, you've got a little rest, so you're sitting there, one guy's watching the fire and everyone else is asleep on the fire line, or you're trying to sleep in an engine, whatever. But it's the most fun you'll have, like being miserable. You're just like suffering through it together. And that's exactly what wrestling is. We had trips when I was in college where uh were trying to fly up to Oregon, and there was like a massive blizzard. So we got rerouted to Seattle and had to drive. And it's like, yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. And we drove like all day, um, because we landed in Seattle. We got on the freeway, and then we were in stopped traffic for like 2.5 hours because there was a jackknife big rig. And so literally we got three exits from the airport, found a hotel, slept for a few hours, woke up at like 6, and then drove all day the next day to get to
Yeah.
Bend, Oregon. And everyone was so furious. Like my senior year, we went 15-1, 14-1, 15-1 in duels. And we went to Bend, Oregon, and we put it on Southern Oregon, Army, and somebody else. Like the duels were not close. Like everyone was so furious. We were starving because couldn't work out to cut weight, so we just kind of had to diet it off, and just stuck in cars, couldn't practice. But yeah, it's like that. You're in a building that's 500 degrees, dragging the heaviest hose you can possibly imagine. That's putting force back on you. You're going to medical aid calls. You're doing CPR on somebody for 30 minutes in a moving ambulance, coordinating with your company officer, whoever else is there with you on your company, trying to get stuff going. So, yeah, it sucks, but it's like the most fun you'll have being miserable for sure. And I compare it so much to being on a wrestling team, and I think that's why I enjoy the career. I think that's why Noah, Riley, Alex, all those guys are enjoying it
Yeah.
too.
It's do you ever watch it's a show called Meat Eater with Steve Ernella?
I'm not.
It's
Most of my stuff is like Disney Plus because my kids.
well, this one's pretty good. He's Hunter, but it's more about like, kind of like the life kind of philosophy that kind of comes with it. And he has like a super good like talking voice, and he talks about in one of the episodes like different qualities of fun, like different degrees. It's like you have like the one where it's like roller coaster fun, but it's not the kind of fun where you look back 10 years like, oh, remember we went on that roller coaster? Like no one does
Yeah,
that. But if it's something where it's like you're miserable while you're doing it, but you're doing it with a bunch of people, 10 years later, it's like, hey, do you remember when we went on that trip and we got snowed in and we got into traffic and then we had to drive the next day and it took forever and we were all miserable? That was so much fun.
it's so memorable, right? It's like because you have that story to share, good, bad, and different. The story is what makes it memorable, and you look back, in earnest, like you're joyful for that moment with those people, right? It's like you're happy you were with those people in those bad times. And I think that's really what makes it so great. Is like a lot of the people in the fire service, they go through extensive background checks because you're going into strangers' homes, right? Like you're so trusted with the public to do things like we wound up cutting the pants off somebody we were doing CPR, and like he's just fully exposed. It's like we're trusted to do these things. And so it's nice to be around other like-minded people. They're good people, and like, all right, we're gonna suffer together. Let's do this. So yeah, there's a lot of that camaraderie.
Yeah, it seems like it's fun. I guess like I know you talked a little bit about like you kind of made this career choice and decision to kind of leave teaching and get into that. I guess what kind of went into that kind of choice?
So I've taught for quite some time. There's a lot of overlap with owning the bar, and then coaching at Cal State, um, and teaching and then fighting. is they were all kind of conducive to each other. They lent themselves to each other pretty well. Um, but my youngest, or excuse me, my middle child, Dylan, was born with something called hemihypertrophy, and so the right side of her body is smaller than the left side of her body, and it's not real noticeable, but we notice. Um, and with that has come other things. So she's dyslexic, she's dysgraphic, she has a speech receptive disorder. The kid has a memory like you would not believe. She's super smart, but she's really struggling with, reading and writing, because her right hand is a little smaller, so it's harder for her to grip pencils and pens and markers and things. And because she's dyslexic and dysgraphic, like the processing of stuff is really hard. So she's just a different style learner. Um, and I understand that from years of teaching. And I taught resource when I was at St. John's for a couple of years. So I helped all the kids that struggled. And the biggest issue a lot of those kids have were dyslexia. Um, but when she was in kindergarten, they said, "Hey, we're not going to move her up." And we said, every expert that says you have a dyslexic kid says it's bad to hold them back. It's not good for
Yeah.
them. At some point, they're going to catch up, and they'll be right along well with everybody else. And so we moved her schools. She's at a great school over there off of Olive Drive called Legacy Christian Academy. And the lady that started at Paula Cowan, her son was dyslexic, and it's been a really, really good experience. But she's on campus Tuesday, Thursday, and she's homeschooled Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they send you the curriculum and all that stuff. And so for the first year she was there, my wife did all that teaching, and she just said, "Hey, I can't do this. This is way too hard for me. It's really frustrating. I'm not a teacher." And my wife and kids have sacrificed a lot for me to be able to wrestle and fight and open a second business, right before COVID and all that stuff. And so it was time for me to make an adjustment for my wife and my kids. And so I said, I'll make a career change so I can homeschool her, so I can do the teaching when she's home. So um, 10, 12 years ago, I had applied with Kern County, and then they had a big hiring freeze.
Hmm.
And my wife was like, we should leave California, this, that, another thing. And I was like, where do you want to go? Because they better have like a college wrestling team where I can go work out. Um, and so I had applied somewhere else. Um, and all said and done, like it was like, all right, well, I'll become a firefighter. It gives me the freedom to be able to come home and teach my middle child. So we're still working on the balance of her homeschooling stuff with me slowly picking up more of the slack on that. Um, I graduated middle of September, and then I had all my EMT stuff I had to do. So I was studying quite a bit, but now we're finally kind of slowing down here a little bit. I get off probation June 16th, and um, my middle one, Dylan, is doing a really good job. Like she's a little bit more receptive to my teaching style than my wife. So we're moving in the right direction, but the decision was made based on her academic success and me being, just a little bit more proficient of a teacher than my wife is. Long story
I
short.
Well, no, I think it's one of those things where obviously it's a tough life situation. And those things happen, all the time with people. And I
Mhm.
think it's very much an indicator of who you are and how you respond to it, right? And I think what's kind of cool that comes out of this is, yeah, you're away from your family 2 days a week, but then you get to really be with your family and help essentially, raise your own kid, like teach them school stuff that a lot of people don't really get to do or maybe choose not to do. So I think that's kind of like a big plus that comes out of this too.
Yeah, I mean, they were at the school I was teaching at, and I get to see them at break and recess, lunch, things like that. I drive them to school and home from school, but we were doing that and then going to practice and waking up early and taking care of bar stuff. I was lesson planning and grading stuff. They're doing homework. I'm making dinner. So it was it was time together, but it wasn't quality time together. And so now, they I go pick them up from school. I drop them off at school when I'm home, and like I get to sit down and help them with homework, right? Like I'm not doing work stuff at home really. Where
Yeah.
before I was, it's like I'm doing schoolwork and you're doing schoolwork. We're like in this together. But now it's like the focus is them, and it's been good for them. It's been good for me. You become a lot more aware of what your kids need, as opposed to like, hurry up and do this. I got to do my stuff too. So hey, don't do that. Nope, dumb dog. anyways, yeah. So it's been a blessing. I mean, somebody else was like, man, and this was the big joke. They're like, I've seen you on campus a lot. And I was like, yeah, I did a couple trades, so I've been off for 16 days. And they're like, 16 days? And I was like, yeah, the problem is like I did a trade, so at some point I'm gonna have to work 4 days in a row. I was like, do you know what that's like? And they're just like, shut up. But yeah, I mean, obviously teachers work 5 days in a row, but they work seven really, and uh, but the big difference is like I'm gone all night. When I'm gone, I'm gone, and I work an hour and 10 minutes from home. So it sounds great, 2 on, 4 off, but it's a full 48 gone, and not 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours.
I think that working during the night would probably kill me the most. But then the drive, like the hour drive there and the hour drive back, would be super tough too, because technically you're not working, but you're still commuting.
Yeah. Um, so, if I asked you like, hey, give me like what you think firefighters do, like lots of people are like, you're running into buildings, you're putting out fires, it's like, uh, I have yet to be on a structure fire in 7 or 8 months. Like I've been on a couple of wildland fires, right? Like where I've gone and you got to realign and you're putting out a grass fire, like, an acre or whatever. I've had a couple of those. I've had a couple of vehicle fires. Those are pretty gnarly. Um, we had a garage fire. We were second in, and by the time we got there, there was no roof and no walls, but there was a vehicle in there. So and there was a lot of like chemicals. All that stuff was still burning. So we got
Yeah.
to do some of that. But you do a lot of medical aid calls. We went. Someone said, "Oh, we think there's a cat stuck up on our roof." The cat was dead, so we got a cat off a roof. Um, we had recently someone got run over by a tractor and took half of their head with them. And so that hour drive to work and that hour drive home from work is really good for me. I'm able to kind of decompress a little bit before I get home and like put that on my kids. I'm able to process some of the things I've seen. And on the way to work, um, I get through some of my daily prayers that I want to do, and I get my mind right. Is like I show up every single day to work prepared for the big one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be caught off guard, and I don't want to be a hindrance to anybody. So if I'm there, like I want to be a benefit. I want them to be like, oh, thank heavens he was here. And mentally, that hour is great. Um, People have asked me like, "Oh, are you going to transfer to Kern County?" It's like, I was in Kern County, man. I could be 3 hours from home. I could be in California City or Boron or something like that. I could have a much larger commute, even though I'm in this county. So being an hour and 5 hour and 10 minutes away, it's pretty nice actually.
When you do those prayers on the way to work, like is it something that are you trying to, I guess, build like kind of this calmness into your day, kind of, or before your shift? Is it something that because I think sometimes when people are mentally preparing for stuff, like I don't know, I think of like football players where they're blasting like rap music and like trying to get hyped before they go, and it's like, dude, it's a 48 hour. It's almost like it's like doing a marathon.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. But it's just that calmness. And I think there's a lot of if you look at some of the best wrestlers, that's normally how they perform their best is when they're not like in this like their body's warm, they're mentally warm, but it's almost like this calmness so that regardless of the situation, they can just react and use their instinct to kind of make important decisions and choices.
Yeah, I think, especially like with wrestling, right? Like you have to be the calm within the storm. Like if
Yeah.
you're losing and there's short time, and you see it all the time, guys just like they're just diving in on bad shots, right? Like it's like, no, I want to put myself in that situation 1,000 times. So it's like, oh, I'm down by two and there's 30 seconds left. Cool. I know the tie I'm looking for. I know what I'm trying to make my opponent do. I know the shot I'm going to get off, and I know exactly how I'm going to finish it. So you're not, frantically spazzing out, for lack of a better term. Um, my prayers are something I do daily, but I also know that when I get to work, you know, everything can hit the fan in an instant. And so I like that opportunity to kind of calm myself to get that reset. Um, and just like if something bad does happen and I don't get to make it home, and I want to be right with my maker. Um, I think that's important. I've been fortunate enough to have a couple company officers, especially during like the Lenten season as a Catholic, like from Ash Wednesday all the way up to Easter. I worked on some weekends, and so they were kind enough to like we're 2 blocks from a church. So like, yeah, man, we can go to church. We'll go. So, you know, if we get a call, you got to jam. So I'm in the back of the church with my radio on real low, like listening to stuff and making sure, you know, it's not our company getting called. But yeah, it's been really great to have them sort of support my faith and things. But having that prayer time is good. Be calm, and then be ready when stuff hits the fan. You're ready for it. You know, you've got all the preparedness, and hopefully you can kind of stay calm through all of it.
And kind of after the shift when you're driving home, I feel like that decompression time is super important. Just because I think you look at, I mean, I've it's funny. I've talked to Emma about this because we were comparing this year of wrestling season, our first season married, and then the season before when we were just engaged. And she's like, "Yeah, you're a lot better this year coming home than you were the year before." You know, and I think it's because
Yeah.
I'm trying to decompress when I come home. But I think one thing that sometimes I struggle with is like knowing when I need to decompress and not bring it home. And when it's something, this is bothering me and I'm trying to like include her in it so that she understands what's going on. But I also don't want to like burden her with stuff either.
Yeah. I'm fortunate from the landscape of my wife is a nurse, so she understands some of the things that I'm going through when stuff happens. You know, my last shift we ran 23 calls. And so that can be, you know, it's like even if you're not running real serious stuff, it's just like the second you get back, boom, tones drop again. You're just like in this constant state of like my heart's racing, you know, everything gets amplified really quickly. And so um, I think it's important to be able to like decompress. And the big difference, and you know, you're one of the products of this too, but like when I'm coaching, like I feel so invested in the success of the people I'm working with. You know, like I if anybody wanted you to win more than you, it might have been me. You know what I mean? Like I'm so rooting for the people I'm working out with. Like I'm rooting for that day where they like throttle me, where they're taking me down, they're doing all the right things. I'm like, I'm pumped for it. A lot of people are like, oh, he's pissed, he got taken down. It's like, no, man, I've been waiting for this. My dream is to not be able to wrestle with you anymore. You're too good. You hurt me. You know, you put on me. It's like, hey, I can't take this anymore. You need to find better competition in the room. Um, and so you know that can be a heavy burden to carry for a whole season, especially when you know you guys have been in a program with you know multi-time state champs and guys that are could be right there on the edge of placing or not placing or qualifying or not qualifying. And so um, you know you carry that with you, and it can be heavy to have that. I think part of the blessing of the fire industry is like you know lots of times we have people, we get them to the hospital, and then we don't know what happens. You know,
Yeah.
you hope for the best, and lots of times it's like you walk out that hospital door, and it's like, all right, we're hey Firecom, we're available. If another call pops up, we're going straight to it. And so, um, you know, that's happened a few times. Like we in the middle of the night, we get back, turn the lights off, lay down. Like I was like taking my shoes off and getting ready to lay down, and my head had not hit the pillow yet, and tones dropped again, and we ran another call. And so, those are those things, and you don't take each of those calls with you unless it's a pretty significant thing. Whereas
Yeah.
wrestling, especially I'm sure during, you know, February and March, I'm sure you're taking a lot of stuff home. And I'm sure, you know, Emma has seen that different side of you. Is like that's a stressful time of year for a coach.
Well, it's even I mean, obviously this is completely different because it's at the end of the day it's a game, you know, for wrestling with when you're doing these calls, like there's people's lives, their livelihoods, their possessions, everything that they maybe have in this world is kind of on the line. It's a little bit different. But it's not even just bringing it home, but it's bringing it with you to the next match. Like I distinctly remember, you know, we had guys this year and one guy, you know, was very close to being a state placer and wasn't. And it sucked, you know, and it was kind of a controversial call. And that like emotionally hurt me because he's like one of my guys and like, you know, I care about him a lot and just with stuff off the mat too. And, you know, I think there's maybe kind of going on a tangent, but sometimes I spend the most time thinking about the guys that maybe need the most attention. You know, not necessarily I'm going to do air quotes, your most successful guys, but like guys that like you kind of need to put your arm around and be like, hey man, like let's do this and let's do the right things together. And those are probably the people I spend the most time like keeping me up at night.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those moments, and I had to like do this, and I had to like put it over here. And then we had like Brock Rios coming up right after, and it was like, he's been it's like kind of a different story. Like he does every single thing right outside the room, works his tail off, and like this has been his moment. He went 0-2 last year, and it's like now he's, it ends up being on the podium. But it's like two complete ends of the spectrum, just like defeat and like just emotionally drained. And then I have to like let it go because I can't bring that into the next match because I have to be at my best for him too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget one of the like a hard moment, like Bryce Hammond, his sophomore year was an All-American, and I had worked out with Bryce and Adam so much. And then his junior year, he tears his bicep tendon, has surgery, and is out. Senior year comes back. Um, Guy gets upset by Miles Martin. He's wrestling Miles Martin, and he was
Yeah.
in that match. And that's the year
He
Miles
took him
Martin.
down. He took him down, and I think he just needed to get out to not give up riding time, and then probably just needed a takedown, I think, to win it. And
Yeah.
yeah, go
And
ahead.
but he kept trying to roll and some other things like that. It was frustrating. And so a lot of the spotlight was on Bryce and his return, and like he had a legitimate like path to the finals. If he could have just out wrestled Miles in that Miles Martin in that match. And Adam Fierro wrestled his tail off that season,
Yeah,
and he and I are close. I still give that guy a hug, tell him I love him. I kind of feel like I do the same thing with you when I see you. You know what I mean? It's always great to see you and the guys I work with. But like, he lost a close match to put him out of the NC2As, and kind of jogged off, and I lost him because Bryce was coming up next, and um, so I didn't see him until later on that evening back in the hotel. And I was like, "Hey, bud." And he just comes up, and like I gave him a big hug, and he's just like crying on my shoulder. And it's those moments where it's like, I love this kid. Like I wanted nothing more than for him to have like all the success, that he deserved and he worked for, and just wasn't in the cards, right? But it's like it doesn't mean that like what we pour into these guys and what you pour into your guys is just wrestling.
yeah,
It's like it's so much more. Like I want I want the guys that are coming to wrestle at Cal State Bakersfield that I'm getting to wrestle with. I want them to grow up to be like great young men like you, right? Like going out, contributing to the world, like making the world a better place, helping somebody else, passing it along. And like, Adam's doing that at BHS also. And it's like, man, I've been so blessed to get to be on the mat with guys that grow up to be fantastic human beings. Bryce is a police officer in Kingsburg. It's like been really lucky, really, really lucky.
and that's the fun part. Like that's the most rewarding part is you get to experience those moments with people and just get to be a part of their journey. And then yeah, the hope is that they pay it forward. Like I think about you every time I go into the CSUB room, and I don't talk as much smack as you did.
Oh man, that
I'm
was my
more just
favorite.
like, hey, like here, let me drill with you, because I mean I like going live, but I like drilling and sparring a little bit more. But
Yeah.
you would never drill, dude. You would just jog a little bit, you'd slap yourself a little bit, and be like, all right, and then you would just beat the crap out of me.
It's Efren Ceballos, his older brother Elazar used to always say, you don't warm up for a street fight. So just show up and blow up. That was kind of my thing. And I always wanted to just kind of save some of my energy to get in there and scrap and show everybody like. Plus, as I get older, I like get way more tired, like drilling. Um, but yeah, it just matters to me. Like I want to get in there and I want guys to like. I'm not trying to talk trash to people to irritate them, but I am trying to like usually spark that fight in people. I want to
Yeah,
just piss off enough where like I get that energy from you. It's like, hey, this is what I need you to channel. This energy is, and some guys that didn't work with. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I can't sit here and get them all worked up. They're not going to perform if I do that. You were one of the guys that's like, all right, dude, let's fight then. and 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 I liked it. I liked it. But yeah, it's not always that way. And it got fun with you because you'd kind of give it back a little bit. And I knew I was getting a better version of you in some of those instances. It's like, all right, man, this guy's coming after me. Now we just got to work on him getting to his offense, him getting to his techniques that he wants. And so, yeah, been been a handful as a mouthy guy for a long, long time, but I enjoy it. And there's a method to my madness. Maybe isn't the best technique all the time, but it's still who I am. It's still what I do. Try to get people a little fired up, talk a little trash, and then if they take me down or beat on me, and I'm just like, see, man, that's what I was trying to do the whole time.
Well, I think I knew that. I think I knew that. And you were always like cool, like outside of that, like it was fine. I think a lot of it for me is like that chip on your shoulder, and it's interesting because I was just talking to one of my buddies about this, but Kale Sanderson's always like, don't take things personally. Like that's one of like the rules for their program. And I think, getting older and having maturity is trying to figure out what to take personally and what not to take personally. But I think when a competition kind of mentality, as long as you don't become, too rash or too aggressive to the point where it's detrimental, it's just finding that line. It's like you can take things personally a little bit, especially if that's who you are.
Yeah,
Like if like it's kind of funny. We'll play ultimate frisbee on Fridays, and sometimes it's like whatever. But like if Franciotti says something, or like uh, one of our wrestlers, Case of Wilds, like jumps up and grabs a frisbee over my head, like when I'm trying to cover him. Then I'm in the game. Like then I'm
yeah,
hustling a little bit more. Then I'm like, I don't forget. And I'm like, I'm gonna make sure you never touch the frisbee again throughout the rest of
yeah.
this game.
That's legitimately you're older than my dad is like, hey, I like this guy. Like Damien's a great guy. He's a good firefighter. But it was like, I'm not gonna forget this. And like every time, like I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna show out. Especially if it's you versus me, like I'm gonna show out. But like it was just this thing where all I heard him say was, "You're old. You're old. You can't do this." Right. And it's like, all right, like keep doubting me. And I've failed a million times and I'll fail a million more. But like uh when I'm challenged or I'm called out, I know you're gonna get the best out of me. Right. Like um a lot of that like kind of trash talk. My brothers used to just pick on me and they would trash talk me
Yeah.
all the time. And it's like, all right, like let's go. And I think that's kind of where I got it from, where I draw it from. Um, and again, like I said, it may not always be the best technique, but it's what made me become more competitive and find that like that passion to really compete, to get after it, and to not like take it lying down.
Yeah, and that's important. So I'm the youngest of three brothers. Are you the youngest?
I'm tied for the youngest, so I have two older brothers and I have a
You have a
twin
twin.
brother, but I
Yeah.
also have two older sisters, so I'm 5 out of 6.
Dude. So that, I mean, maybe that's just a younger sibling thing too. Like it just adds to it because just
Yeah,
like some slight that happens when you're younger and you take it super personally. And plus you got to fight for everything. Like my mom would make cinnamon rolls. My brothers are 10 and 12 years older than me. Like I'd be lucky to get one, just
yeah.
because they would literally sometimes fight over stuff. And when you're the run, it's like, yeah, you're not even in the ballpark of competition. So it's just trying to fight and trying to find a way in there.
Yeah. The stories I could tell you about like Thanksgiving dinners, and my mom makes this thing called frozen cranberry salad, and my brothers and I, we all love it. It's awesome. And it gets busted out. My mom only makes one tray of it. So you get one piece and like that's it. My brothers will stick their finger right in yours. Is like, I'm gonna eat that still. I do not care. Like my wife came to Thanksgiving like one of the first years we were kind of together, and my brother did that. Like he picked it up and licked the back of it, and I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna eat this. She's like, you got to be kidding me. And then she tried it and was like, oh, it's okay. Like, do you want it? And I was like, yes. And I ate hers. I ate hers too. And then my brothers were furious. They're like, he got two. That's not fair. And I was like, I do not care about fair. You licked mine. Like, so
How
yeah.
old are you for context?
I was probably 35, 30, yeah, something like that. Yeah, my brothers picked on me a lot. My older brother Dave, when he graduated from UC Davis, hey Dill, um, was the wins leader, the career wins leader at UC Davis when he graduated. Um, and okay, um, and my oldest brother Chris played college lacrosse, and he is now an official. He was at the D2 Nationals. He officiated one of the finals matches at D2 Nationals. But all pretty athletic, all pretty tough. It wasn't until I started with a pro MMA career where they'd be like, all right, hey, we don't need to do this. And it was like, I'll punch you in the jaw, right? And they're like, yeah, like we're adults now. We don't need to do this. And it's like, yeah, weird how when we were kids and that excuse didn't like, hey, we're children. We shouldn't be hitting each other. It didn't vibe. But now all of a sudden we're grown-ups. Like, oh, now you got wisdom. Cool.
When Steve had moved down to Bakersfield with my mom, my last year competing, I brought him in the restroom like, hey, I need some help cutting weight. And I probably was a little bit heavy, so I probably really did need to get that extra workout in. But I
Yeah.
got warm and he put his shoes on. And as soon as he got warm, I freaking jumped on him. And like I wrestled him super hard. And here's the thing, like Steve is big, he's strong. He's got maybe a minute and then he's gonna just, all right, I'm done. And I just waited for that minute to be done. And I held him on his back and I just let him know. I'm like, yeah, remember when you used to, put a hanger on my onesie and like put me on the back of the door? Like, yeah, I never forgot that.
My junior year in college. No, it was my senior year. It was the summer between my junior and my senior year. My grandfather passed away. Um, and we all went out to Nebraska for the funeral. And at the time, like I was in the best shape of my life, right? I just qualified for the NC2As, and I'm getting ready for my senior year, so I'm training hard. And um, we go there, and the 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 family like had set up places for all of the out of towners to stay, and so we stayed at like this family friend's house. And in the Midwest, there's a lot of basements, right? So we're staying in the basement. Me and all my brothers are staying in this basement of this couple that's probably in their 80s, and they have like a pull-out couch, and we're all just sleeping on the floor. And my oldest brother's like, "I'm on the pull-out couch. Like, you guys get to sleep on the floor or whatever. Screw you guys. I'm married. I got kids." Dude, we start a Royal Rumble, and we break their pull-out couch, of course, right? Like, why would we
Yeah.
not? And so we're like, oh dang. So we I'm ashamed to admit it, but we just fold this pull-out couch back in. We put it away, and then we do not say a word. They the couple passed away a few years later. Also, they were a little elderly couple, but yeah, it was super nice of them to stay there. And so, in kind, we just destroy their house. And then we go to the funeral, we go to the reception, and my family they drink a little bit, right? So it's like, hey, let's go. We'll stop by the liquor store. We'll grab some beverages for the reception. So they grab some beer, they grab some whiskey. There's tons of food. My mom's one of six kids. All of her sisters have at least three or four kids. So my grandmother had 75 grandchildren and
Oh my
like,
gosh.
yeah, it's like 98 great grandchildren, something like that. Um, and so like huge families there. My grandfather had passed, and so my brother starts kind of like poking at me a little bit, and I was like, all right, let's go. He'd been drinking, I'd been drinking, so I take him down. I have him on his face, belly down. I've got two legs in. I grab both of his ears and I start rubbing his face in the grass.
Oh my gosh.
And then my dad looks over and he's like mortified. And he comes over, he's like, "Hey, this is a funeral." Like, it's like he pulls me off of him. It's like, yeah, dude, like, you remember all that, guff you gave me growing up? Like, no more. No more. Dad had to break this up. If he hadn't come to save you, you'd be dead right now. Like, I was just so furious. But yeah, like since then, he and I went truce. We don't mess with each other. That's it. But it was good to get one of those back. Unfortunate it was at a funeral, but it was pretty good.
Count it.
Yeah. Chalk it. Hey, I didn't win a lot of the battles, but I won the war.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the last
Well,
one standing.
yeah, he laid his king down, right? Like, hey, I concede.
Yeah.
So
Well, hey, I know, we've been going for almost an hour. I know it's family time. You're pretty close. I feel like your fundraising goal, like you're not quite there yet. Like just a couple questions, I guess, about that. When do you leave? Like when is like the I guess like the cutoff date for the fundraiser? When do you leave? And I guess just kind of just summarizing, like how excited are you to be able to compete and represent your department?
I'm super pumped. Like a lot of the guys in the department have been like pretty jazzed about it. And initially I started a GoFundMe because guys from the department were like, "You're representing us, man. Like, we want to help you out." Like, and they're like, "How much you trying to raise?" I was like, "5 grand." They're like, "It's gonna be way more than 5 grand." And I was like, "Yeah, I just don't want to be greedy. You know what I mean? You see people on GoFundMe like raising money for like cancer, or like, I need a kidney." And it's like, I'm trying to go do something I'm passionate about. Like it seems kind of silly, right? But a lot of these guys feel like I'm representing them also. And like, since no one from our department has ever competed in it, it's a little bit of a pride thing. So some of those guys have donated money, but I'm at 2,500 right now. I think the our union has talked about maybe sponsoring me a little bit of money. But yeah, the wild thing about the police and fire games, the world games, is it's like the Olympics. It happens every 2 years. There's over 60 different sporting events that go on at 28 different venues. So we were looking, and the rental cars are already like really hard to find.
Yeah.
To stay that long, I work the 25th, so I fly out on the 26th. Hang on, what's up? That's fine. Get her back out here. Um, so I work on the 25th. I'll get off about 8 a.m. on the morning of the 26th. I'll drive from Exeter home, grab my stuff. I'm going to fly out from Burbank. Got a layover somewhere. So on the 26th, I fly. The opening ceremonies are the 27th. So I'll actually walk in those. I weigh in on the 30th. I compete on the 1st. Um, and then my wife and kids are going to fly out, I think, on the 29th or 30th. And then we're going to stay out there for the 4th of July because it's cheaper
Nice.
to stay and fly back than it is to come back early. So it's cheaper to get an Airbnb than it is a hotel room for like 10 days. So getting a rental car, registering for the tournament. I have to get all custom singlets made, which is costly because they want to do 30, right? They want to do a team singlets. They don't want to do just one with our logos and stuff on it, but they're doing that for me. Nate Morgan from Wrestling Mart's gonna make that happen for me.
Awesome.
Um, and yeah, and then everything else that comes along with travel like that. So um, what we did is all the people that had donated money, I felt compelled to like, these people are giving me money out of the kindness of their heart, but I'd love to like make it kind of worth their while. So we have two raffles that we're doing. One of them is a gun raffle. We're raffling off a Glock. It's
Nice.
$100 a ticket, but we're only selling 30 tickets.
Okay.
So it's,
Yeah.
obviously I've seen a lot of gun raffles and it's like, oh, $100 and they sell like 1,200 tickets. Like, holy cow, you know what I mean? Like we made $12,000. Like, that's crazy. I have no chance of winning that. So, and then we have a Yeti raffle. It's a 45 quart, like big Yeti cooler. We've got a 30 rack of beer in it, two different bottles of whiskey, a bottle of red wine, and then some like home bar stuff, like a bar mat, a shaker bottle, a mixer, some things like that. And so, we're raffling that off. And those tickets are 25 for one or 5 for 100. So that way, if someone wants to donate some money, at least they have the opportunity or potential to win something.
Yeah.
And then we're doing a 50-50 drawing later on. Um, but so that way, you got a chance of winning half the money, whatever it is. But yeah, those three things are kind of what'll hopefully take us to the top. So the original 2,500 that had already been donated on GoFundMe, all of those people are now in one of those two raffles. We're gonna do the drawing on May 15th from my station. So my station captain is actually gonna draw it. We'll probably record it and then post it so people know. Um, but yeah, we're trying to do some fun things. We had talked about doing a car wash or doing a pancake breakfast, but um, I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to like drag a bunch of people into volunteering time and energy and
Yeah.
maybe not really yielding that much fruit from it. Selfishly. And if I do it up there, I don't live up in Exeter. That's an hour commute, so I'll be off shift, have to go up there, more time away from my wife and kids to put a lot of work in, and then potentially have to ask people to volunteer. So I figured a couple raffles where someone that wants a gun and sees the potential of 1 in 30,
Yeah.
a little bit easier, and or someone that wants to get a Yeti, $25, that's a little bit easier to manage. So trying to do those two things, and drawings are May 15th, and yeah, just trying to make it all happen. Rental car, flights, um, uniform, Airbnb, fuel, check baggage, check luggage, parking at the airport, all these things that kind of you don't think about at times, that just kind of
Yeah.
slowly add up. but yeah, it costs money to register to compete in this thing. It costs more money to be in the opening ceremonies, but I thought it would be cool to be able to take some photos, and bring them back to the department, like with me and my warm ups and things like that. So, but more than anything, man, I'm just excited. Even if I didn't raise another dollar, I would be super pumped just because I love to wrestle. Like I just love the sport so much. Um, I'm like you, I'm pretty fanatical about it. I just like to follow it. I like to see other people compete. I like to hear what, programs like Penn State is like, hey, what are they doing? How can we tap into that? How can we do things that successful people are doing also, not just in wrestling, but in life? And um, yeah, to think it's, my kind of my last ride is a little sad, but I'm also really excited for all the things that my daughters are going to do, and just get to spend time with them. I think they still like going to practice and hearing me trash talk some of the guys when I'm wrestling them, but um, yeah, yeah, it's a blessing to be able to find a career that I really enjoy, that I feel is pretty well suited to me as a human being, as a wrestler, um, and then be able to marry that with competing. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
Coach, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you having you on, man, and getting a chance to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot. It's pretty cool just to see like all the things you're doing. Like you got your hands on a lot of things with podcasts and coaching and a wife now and teaching, and yeah, man, it's just it's my pleasure. You've grown into a fantastic man, and honored to know you, and super glad we got to share the mat so many times together.